Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be reviewing the Nick Fuentes rebuttal to everybody. Apparently, he has a lot of haters. There's been a lot of drama, a lot of coping and seething from many sides. Content that involves hundreds of thousands of people indirectly, and something that is very important to the far right. Anyways, the dissident right. I'm not going to be liberal about it. Anyways. I'm going to be watching it, at least most of it, and then I'm going to be rebutting any certain points, or I'm going to be giving my general commentary, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'll try to be ecumenical. I'll try to be fair and objective. Okay. If you guys know me, you know where I stand. I don't want to ruin it for you guys, so let's go ahead and start playing it. I've not seen this thing. I think I've seen the first 17 minutes, so you'll get a pretty fresh reaction from me, by the way.
No, just kidding, everybody. Just kidding. Ugh.
So automatically he's already trolling us on the basis of him doing this Kanye stream, and this Kanye stream basically being predicated on the fact that he's trolling, he's owning the APU people, he's trolling Jaden McNeil, he's trolling the Kino Casino, and frankly, I just think that it's a cope. He clearly needed these couple of extra days here to compensate for, I believe, a weak rebuttal. But we'll see how strong the rebuttal is coming up imminently. But yeah, again, if you saw something that is so bad, apparently, like Jaden going on the Kino Casino on Friday, ideally by Friday night or Saturday, you would have a response. But instead, on Saturday and Sunday, I believe we got him wearing that puffy jacket, that oversized Gap jacket, this Yeezy jacket that doesn't fit him. And then you've got the glasses and him ripping money up. And again, it's pretty disappointing to see that. Again, he tried to pass it off as a joke, as if wasting everybody's time, including his own fans, was worth trolling people. I just think it's a blatant sign of disrespect to everybody, including his audience, like I said. So again, he gains no respect in anybody's eyes at all when you go ahead and you waste everybody's time in the lobby, getting everybody hyped up for something that was, basically you just playing Chief Keef and Kanye for 20 minutes, and then you just doing these random gay ass hand gestures. It's very weird. And again, with the format, you look at the Z on the Russian flag. I don't even know what that means really, and the Russian flag on the America First platform is just ironic and contrarian, and again, immature. But we'll go ahead and keep playing.
Oh my gosh. No. JK. Toss that over there. Transition, by the way, before. Our name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very big show. Big show. Big news. Big controversy. Big news. And so our featured story tonight will be talking about Elon Musk, who said today that if
who gives a fuck about the politics, if we're going to be talking about the drama, right, guys? So we'll just skip around the
wild accusations,
little preamble.
And some of them very serious. Some of them gravely serious.
What is this facial expression, Oh, grave thingies, grave accusations. You would think that he'd be worried about it, or at least play it off as cool, but he's kind of doing this in-between sarcastic, oh, I really give a shit. But you do clearly give a shit. You've gone on other people's shows on Cozy multiple times for several hours at this point over the weekend about the Jaden situation in the Kino Casino special they made on you on Friday. So again, pretending like you don't care, yet you obviously do. And, when everybody knows you do care and you pretend not to, it just makes it worse than if you just were up and honest about it, saying, I do care that my best friend apparently betrayed me. But again, he's going to be playing cool. And it is not like him to do this. It's a very manipulative tactic and unbecoming of somebody who's supposed to be the future leader of America, theoretically. So let's go ahead and see what he says.
I know your trust in me is shaken when you find out, for example, that I watched season 1 of Euphoria. It was bound to come out eventually.
Yeah.
There was only so much that I could do to prevent that from getting out. I've killed men. It's been NDAs. It's been all of that, just to protect this terrible secret. But
so again, he's preempting the drama talk by saying, "Oh, I watched season 1 of Euphoria." Again, that wasn't the main criticism. That's maybe the 20th problem you had from that Kino Casino. So completely disingenuous. I think he's disarming the arguments from the other side by basically saying this is some bullshit accusation. It's kind of like if Donald Trump went up to the debate stage and he said, you know what, first of all, they're criticizing me on my tan face or my spray tan. And it's like, no, I mean, like, yes, they make fun of you for this, for these aesthetics, but they're not going to be, these aren't the things that are really buck breaking certain people. These aren't the things that are making people jump the ship from the America First movement, so called. And so for him to say this, it's just completely disingenuous and it's not funny. Some 15-year-olds can find it funny. I don't. And in terms of the euphoria thing, again, I think it's cringe that he purports to be this conservative and yet watch Euphoria. And it kind of correlates with like the queerness that you get from Nick. I personally think he's bisexual, but there's no concrete proof of it. Well, there is proof, but again, I'm not 100% sure. It's not like Madison Cawthorn where you saw him do gay incest, But yeah, I mean, again, the Euphoria thing, like, maybe it was normal. A lot of people saw it. A lot of straight guys saw it. It was very popular. But again, sussy. Also, he didn't mention that he saw the show Sex Life of College Girls, which sounds very gay for a guy to look at that. I think watching The Bachelorette is more masculine, actually. Or Bachelor, sorry.
Eventually the truth gets out there. It finds a way of getting out there, no matter what you do. So we will address that among other things. Unfortunately, I've been put in this horrible situation, and we'll get into all of that. No, but we will get into it. And I do want to set the record straight on some things and talk about some other things. Z, remember to smash the follow Mother's Day. I hope dinner. And I posted a picture of myself out there in front of the.
We'll go ahead and skip through his filler talk.
But I went out there for a meeting and I met with some interesting people. I'll just say that much.
He'll talk about when he went to DC. I don't think it really matters to this specific segment. So
anyway, so that was my weekend. But hey.
Okay.
Just went into this very bizarre territory. I felt like I was debating Reddit. I felt like I was debating Reddit itself. Because we do our opening statement and the guy goes, well, I don't even think we need to talk about Russia because what it's really about is I want to build a Gnostic.
He's talking about his debate with counterpoints. Nobody gave a shit. It was during the Kino Casino,
actually. Gives me an excuse
Even Nick didn't look like he wanted to be there, so I think it's really telling.
In front of...
Again, what is this physiognomy? The mannerisms don't seem very heterosexual, and I mean, a lot of people have these criticisms. I don't have the manliest voice. It is what it is. I am a teenager. Maybe it'll change. But again, I don't do these hand gestures where I'm pointing to myself like me so shy. You look weak, okay? And I haven't seen a single straight man ever do this pose, this sort of hand mannerism. It seems really weird. And again, this guy does not make it easy to defend him being straight. Okay, that's my point. And he doesn't really even defend himself being straight as much anymore. I just think he's kind of given up on that.
9,000 people. It's a great gift and it's very delicious to me because I do enjoy going off. But before I go off, well, I want to preface by saying a few things. The first thing I want to say is this: this is the most under attack.
What the fuck was that expression? Hold on a second.
Before I go off, well, I want to preface by saying a few things. The first thing I want to say is this: this is the most under attack.
Oh, okay, that's funny. Okay, I just, it's funny. If you look at his hands are fucked up. You look at how, the joints in his hands, protrude forward, and it's a little weird. Now, a lot of other white people have this, but again, weird. And again, unflattering still image, I get that. But again, him doing all these extra gestures, I've seen, I think, hundreds of his shows at this point, and he's never been this expressive before, in my opinion. So he's being more expressive for a reason. If he were playing it very cool and he doesn't care, then why would it be so expressive? Is my question. And of course he does care. So maybe he is being more expressive to connote more genuine, a more genuine sentiment. To come off as more authentic. He's being more expressive than normal. Does he think that that's going to help his case? Because to me, it seems like he's squirming, that he's nervous, and that he has anxiety over what he's going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and keep playing.
Attack movement in the history of the United States. Period, bar none.
He just said that America First is the most prosecuted movement in American history. I mean, you could argue, within the last couple of years, sure. But then again, you look at George Lincoln Rockwell, you look at a lot of far-right people, and they were literally killed in a lot of cases. So again, how prosecuted are you if you're still alive, right? I think that if the government were so threatened of Nicholas J. Fuentes, a guy who Donald Trump has not even heard of before, if they really thought you were a threat, they would have killed you by now, right? And again, I don't advocate that. I'm just saying that you're not that prosecuted in the grand scheme of things. And the average person that, went in the Capitol on January 6th is more prosecuted than Nick Fuentes is, the leader of a so-called big movement in the far right or dissident right. So I think he's being disingenuous here. But again, the victim complex is also something that is flagrant between the lines you can read into how he's typically viewing himself through a prism of everybody trying to gun at him and trying to kill him and trying to nip at his heels. And while a lot of that is true, he has to realize that he is a big fish in a small pond in terms of the dissident right. So again, the people that are ankle biting him are nothing in the grand scheme of things, and he might be like a shell in a beach. Okay, so he's bigger than the grains of sand trying to get him, but then again, you're not that big. And if you really wanted to get destroyed, the government would have done so a long time ago. So I think this sort of point is useless.
And you've seen what's been done to all of us. We have been completely censored on social media. We have been debanked. We have been financially sanctioned, persecuted by the government, investigated by the FBI, subpoenaed by the U.S. Congress. We are attacked by the mainstream media. We are attacked by the ADL, SPLC cadre of trusted flaggers and other social enforcers of the lobbies that control America. And normally, most of the stuff that they accuse me of, most of the things that they attack me based on, I don't take a lot of time to address. Because all you have to do is consider the source. When the SPLC attacks me, when the ADL attacks me, we know what they're about. We know that when those institutions attack us, it's not in good faith. Because they are against our political objectives. And so it's really like their job to be disingenuous. It's almost like it's their job to use information as a tool, as a weapon of war against us as their political opponents. The reason I am addressing drama tonight, and honestly, wasting a lot of people's time on this show with tabloid gossip, is...
Again, he's saying, I'm wasting everybody's time. I think what wasted people's time was you literally just sitting there, making all these faggot-ass gestures with your hands, listening to Kanye music from 10 years ago. Maybe that was a waste of time. And, to say that, me rebutting actual claims about money and talking to the feds, as if that's not necessarily, a waste of time, again, is very facetious. And also, you're really saying, it's a waste of time to talk about the gossip? Well, if that's the case, then if you were to really do a poll of the groypers and the people that are watching this, and you said, do you want me to talk about Elon Musk for the 15th time this year? Do you want me to talk about the Russia conflict for the 30th time this year? Or do you want me to talk about this very fresh drama? I think everybody would pick the third because again, that's what people care about, not really the political stuff at this point. So again, this is like a lol cow circling the drain. Let's talk about politics. I don't want to waste your time. Nigga, you don't care about our time. If you really cared about our time, you would have not have done those 2 streams stalling for time yourself. Okay?
Is because 2 people attacked me on Friday. One who was my best friend at one point, and one who was a former employee. And so in the interest of full disclosure, I do want to address some things that were brought up. Because unlike a lot of our...
What's up with the full disclosure and him squinting his eyes? I think that is typically a sign of lying.
Adversaries, you could see where claims made by former associates could be seen as more credible. I don't think they're credible.
Again, the chopping motions in midair seem sus.
I'll get into that. There's a very good reason for this.
Again, him moving his hands, kind of like tempering you down, like, hey, this looks like bullshit, but I'll explain it. And also, look at his hands. Why are they like that? If I were Nick, I would not extend my hands in the camera. It looks weird. Look at how he's like bent. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but just look at this. It's kind of weird.
But I want to establish that that's why I want to address
I
some
wonder
of
if
these
he'd be good at baseball.
And I'm not going to address everything. And this really kind of gets to the nature of what goes on. A lot of this stuff is just trash. I was accused of taking showers for too long. Okay. I like to take long showers because I'm hiding from people. Okay.
Again, just look at his face. He's full of shit. That is not what people were talking about. That's not the main issue that we are discussing. It's like, if you're talking about Jeffrey Dahmer, most people don't point out that he was going to gay bars. They're pointing out that he was killing people and eating their hearts and stuff like that. Does Nick having 2-hour showers and watching Euphoria, is that probably cringe? Yes, but again, that's not the top issue with him. So let's see if he actually gets to the meat and potatoes.
I'm antisocial when I'm out and traveling with people. I like the alone time when I'm in the shower. I don't think I'm the only, okay, but is this really...
Again, so he takes a 2-hour shower to get alone time, but allegedly Nick lives on his own. And, at worst was living, in his mom's basement or was living in the same building as Jaden but never saw him in the last several months. So if that's really the case, then what is the big deal with him not being in the shower that long? Do you really need to be inside of the shower to be alone? If you live by yourself and if Jaden doesn't talk to you, then why do you need to be in the shower for more than, let's say, half an hour at most to be alone, right? Could you just not be in your own room? It's not like you're a 13-year-old boy who has his own bathroom where your parents are bitching at you. It's more so, I want to be in the shower for God knows what. My hypothesis is that he has a shower where there's a chair, like some old people have this, where you have a chair off to the corner of the shower depending on the size of it. And then the water doesn't necessarily splash on the chair. So maybe he can be on his 15th alt, called Rapist 6520, and he can go on there and he can look at all the people subtweeting him. I guess, I don't know. All we know is that he's name searching himself. He's over here flagging videos. I hope he doesn't flag this one. So again, that's probably what he does. I don't know. Play the video.
level of the discourse. You've got people wearing America First hats in New York City, standing in front of a church, defending it from people that are going to burn down Catholic churches because they want to kill babies. And we are being forced to talk about HBO shows and long showers. And is this just not so beneath the work that we've been doing for 5 years?
Beneath the work, again, America First had nothing to do with those kids, with those teenagers, stopping the BLM protests or the abortion protesters outside of that Catholic church. You know, were some of them involved with AF? Yes, but they were not the catalyst behind what they were doing there. And to pretend like Nick even gives a shit about that sort of stuff is kind of, again, not even completely true. I think Nick is way more interested and spent way more time thinking of this conflict and drama this weekend than he did that church. And I'm pretty sure that 99% of other people that are even vaguely associated with the right wing in this sector cared more about the Kino Casino and Nick Fuentes in the regards of the drama and the gossip than they did about the church. Because all of that stuff is boring, frankly. You know, people want to talk about their dates. They don't want to talk about the office job they have, the day-to-day stuff. They want to talk about the specialty. And the specialty today is going to be the drama. So again, he's lying again.
In any case, I'm not going to go point by point and address every single thing. I don't think that's necessary. And I'm also going to say, before I get into the big stuff, because there were some serious accusations made, just like when we look at ADL or SPLC, we have to consider the source. And in the interest of full disclosure, the people I'm talking about, Jaden and Simon, Jaden obviously was very visibly a part of America First for a long time, and Simon less visibly worked on the America First team. Again, in the interest of full disclosure, Simon has not been in my employment since December. And so anything that's gone on between December and now within the America First movement is something that he has not been a part of. Additionally, I have not been friends with Jaden since the end of January. I've not talked to him. I've not seen him, except for in very brief, very trivial encounters. Just haven't talked. So allegations are being made based on information that is 6 months old, essentially, 5 to 6.
These expressions are very telling of somebody who is lying to you. Again, I don't know how to articulate this in a way that isn't just completely confrontational, but again, you need to see this for yourself. He's moving his hands in a way that suggests, like, I need you to believe this bullshit. He's looking at you with the squinting his eyes because he just cannot face the truth completely with a straight face. And I just think he's lying. Just look at his hand gestures. Does he normally do this? When he's discussing politics, does he ever have to move his hands in a way to justify whatever he's saying in a way that is like, please believe me, God, help me? I just think he's desperate.
6 months old in either case. I also want to point out the source, where all of this is being platformed. Because I heard a lot of things on Friday that if I had heard them on Cozy TV, or if I had heard them on Vince's stream, if I had heard them on Steve Franson's stream, if I had heard them on any other show, I would consider more credible. But we're talking about people airing out both professional and extremely personal grievances on a platform which essentially is built on attacking America First with bad faith, gossip, and slander.
Why is he, again, the facial expressions are completely telling. Look at any America First show, starting, a month ago, and you can tell that he's not doing these same facial expressions. Again, he thinks that he's smart enough to avoid being caught in a lie. And I don't even have to have actual evidence just to know that the circumstantial evidence, fucking condemns this guy. Because, again, he's making all these moves with his hands and his eyes, and I can read it for what it is. Now, I will say this. In terms of Nick Fuentes discussing... Fuck, what was I? I'm stalling for time. I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, I'll make something up right now. All right, so he's saying that if he were on Vince James' stream or if he were on Steve Franson's stream, that he would add credibility to whatever Simon and Jaden were saying on the Kino Casino, theoretically. Now, the part of that doesn't make logical sense to me is that, what Jaden said, theoretically, if put in a different show with the exact same content, would have seemed more credible to Nick, shows that he views the Kino Casino as a prism of attack on him personally and not necessarily America First, because he imbues himself as the role model of America First. He has an extended sense of a place within the America First movement, so he vehemently hates PPP and Andy Worski with the Kino Casino program because he views that as anti-himself, and that gets in the way of his ego and his tendencies to be narcissistic, and he feels like Vince and Franson are more amicable to him. And he views that if his friend said the same toxic shit about him in a different friend's stream, that would basically make it so that the other people that he doesn't like wouldn't benefit off that. So he's being logically inconsistent there and not completely honest.
And honestly, I think that is actually a huge relief in some ways, because I think it shows sort of what the motivation is. I think it shows the motivation behind things like this. Because people could look at the situation and say, Jaden was your best friend for a long time, Simon was your best friend, now they're on this show. I think of anything that actually undermines their credibility. They're on a show with two people who are not conservative, not Catholic, not Christian, not America First, not building anything political, but people who their life's mission is to gossip about a movement which is all of those things.
See, I just don't. He's giving off the used car salesman, like, please give me money. I'm broke, bro. Just look at it. Look at his face. It just does not connote confidence. And if anybody wants to dispute this in the comments, I just want to laugh at you real quick because, again, it does not make any sense. You cannot tell me with a straight face that this nigga is telling the truth. Seriously. And second of all, yes, it does add more credibility if your best friends go on another person that doesn't like you, who has talked shit about them on their show. Because it shows that they were that willing to fuck you over and tell the truth about you, apparently, that they were willing to take in the jokes, the gay jokes, the stupid jokes, whatever have you jokes from PPP and Worski, and say, you know what, I'm going to talk about Nick, right? He could have gone on somebody that's more friendly like Jimbo or Kai or somebody like that and explained their grievances there under censorship and under duress. And but no, they really chose the bigger platform because they knew that the other people on Cozy would have stabbed them in the back as soon as they found out about, you know, what Kai and Simon were going to say about the organization and Nick personally, you know, because they're all fucking ball washers for Nick, generally speaking. And now Jaden going on Kino Casino, sorry, I mispronounced that, Kino Casino, validates his position because they made fun of him and made gay jokes at Nick's expense involving him, but he overlooked that for the fact that he was doing the greater good in exposing Nick Fuentes in his own opinion, which further validates him as being genuine. Because had he not been genuine, had he been a coward, he could have just made a live stream or a video on his own channel talking about it without necessarily having to accept being on the platform with PPP and Worski. And for Nick to say that they're not conservative, again, Worski's nominally conservative, and, you know, he's not very political, and, you know, who cares? And PPP is probably to the right of Fuentes. So he's just making shit up in terms of they're not conservative, right? And then second of all, you're looking at, people that don't create anything, their entire existence is hating on me. That's how narcissistic you are, Nick. If you looked up PPP and you scroll down his YouTube channel, Daka Daka, for more than 30 seconds, you'll realize that he's talking about other people besides Nick. He makes content about other locales, he makes videos about Canadian politics, but yet you don't even care because it's all about you. And it's very, very apparent. And in terms of Worski, he doesn't create anything. Well, when did he ever say that he's leading a movement? Again, you're upholding people to standards that you yourself are supposed to meet, and then you're criticizing others for not getting to those places when they never said they were going there. They're just criticizing you for the way that you're getting there, or the lack thereof of movement. So again, he's being very facetious, and I just hate lying.
About a movement which I will remind you of the fruits of this movement, which has created a never-before-seen political coalition of sitting politicians, mainstream pundits, content creators, editors, musicians, you name it. It's got everything. It's something where we've created a censorship-proof streaming platform.
People used to give Trump shit for upselling things and, you know, using hyperbole to, like, make himself sound good. But again, to say that you've made this, like, never-before-seen coalition of politicians, for example, is laughable. You got, you know, a retired congressman, I believe, in Steve King, who's disgraced, okay, for bullshit reasons, of course, but then again, it is what it is. And then you're looking at people like Paul Gosar, who denounced you outright, and then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who didn't even know what she was really getting into when she spoke at APAC, and she has more or less denounced you afterwards, or at the very least said, I don't even know this guy, I don't even care about this guy. So what coalition is that? It's kind of like saying, I've slept with 2 girls, yet when you call the girls, they're like, well, first of all, fuck him, he's gross. And then the second one was like, well, see, it's not really something to brag about. I wouldn't brag about that. Oh, you got those 2 girlfriends, but they all talk shit about you and they all pretend like you never existed? I wouldn't even mention it then. You just look worse. Same thing with this. Paul Gosar literally said you have a big mouth and you're misleading a group of young kids. That's what he said. Marjorie Taylor Greene had not a ringing endorsement for you there. And Steve King talked about Judeo-Christian values, and for this nigga to talk shit about people that mention that in their speeches for years on end, and for him to just take that from Steve King is beta, all right? And pundits and commentators. Who exactly? Like, could you argue that the far right or the dissident right, the populist right, have grown since Nick has taken, the spotlight? Yes, but I think that's like 95% due to Donald Trump and not because of him, right? So again, just completely ignorant. And again, Nick live streams to less than less than 0.5% of Tucker Carlson's audience is Nick's size, for example. So Nick is like 1/300th of a Tucker Carlson. So for him to be like, I've revolutionized this whole movement. I mean, by that logic, Tucker Carlson is like the fucking leader of the fucking whole Milky Way galaxy, in terms of scale. So I just think he's delusional.
We have created an America First Foundation, which will be, in addition to the America First intern team, participating in the midterm elections to elect America First congressmen.
He used to rag on a lot, like almost a year ago, about how he's going to get all these people elected. And then one of the first thing he does several months ago, I believe, or months ago, he antagonizes Joe Kent for not a valid reason, in my opinion. And, instead of saying, what, this guy's better than Jamie Herrera Butler, who voted for the impeachment of Donald Trump, I'm going to antagonize him, and, whoever the fuck runs and wins, I'll just let the rhino win because it's all about my ego because I'm Nick Fuentes. And then who else have you gotten elected, right? So again, you're saying, oh, I'm involved in all these races. Well, if you were so involved with the Congress, then wouldn't you keep the support of Paul Gosar, who actually supported you from the beginning and then denounced you? Like, if you were so competent, wouldn't you just keep him? So how can you say that you're that competent when you can't even keep what you have already? And then you're saying that you have all these untold amount of Congress people that are involved with you, but you can't name any of them, and you can't get any of them to support you, and you can't get any of them to say your name out loud with any positive connotation for more than 3 seconds.
Of which we're in touch with several campaigns right now, as well as what's put on an annual conference, AFPAC, which once again brings together America First people from across the spectrum to push the political conversation in America further to the right. To go on a platform which is dedicated to undermining that movement undermines the credibility of people that are trying to make serious claims. I'll say that. Now, there's a few things that have been insinuated, and these are things which I want to address directly.
Again, important dichotomy, and basically what he's doing is saying, here's the rationale that a lot of sociopathic Machiavellian politicians make in their lives. They say, if I'm president, if I'm senator, I'm the only person that can conceivably do this good thing. And if that's the case, then anybody who tries to stop me, no matter what I'm doing that's wrong at the time, they're just fucking over all those people that I'm trying to help. That is that sort of utilitarian logic. So Nick Fuentes is saying, I'm the only one that can save America. I'm the one that is more likely to make the Overton window shift in such a way that I will save the white race, and I will stop all the abortions, and I'll stop the gays, and I'll stop all this other stuff, the border stuff, all this immigration problem. And if you're trying to stop me over valid criticisms, you should shut the fuck up, because I'm the only guy that can save us out of this movement. And that is not true. First of all, that's not even true. And even if it is, you ought not try to rationalize your own failures as a man by saying that you're the only person that can do something. If you cannot control your own vices, then you probably cannot control other people's vices. You probably cannot regulate an entire economy yourself. And again, I don't think you have what it takes to be president. And furthermore, to say that you are the main leader of the conservative right-wing movement in your sector and that you cannot be criticized is basically like saying you cannot criticize Donald Trump because he's the most viable right-wing person right now. Whereas Nick Fuentes has spent the last 5 years shitting on Trump off and on, 50-50 coverage on Trump this entire time, having no respect for the office insofar as he's concerned compared to himself. So he's being completely unreasonable and egotistic.
And we'll just be straight up about it. I've been accused of lying about the fact that the FBI and the DOJ froze $500,000 in cash in my bank account. And I will say this, and people may not like this answer, but this is the reality of the situation. When the DOJ froze my money, I did not publicize that fact. I didn't publicize it because it was an ongoing legal matter. It was only because it was later leaked in a very similar situation that eventually I disclosed the money was frozen. The current status of that investigation, and I've got the emails from the Department of Justice, what I was told in March, maybe February, but what I was told last year by Elizabeth Alloy, who is one of the federal prosecutors who targeted the money, what I was told 1 year ago was that the assets in question and me are the target of an ongoing federal criminal investigation, which is a very serious and grave matter. The last thing that I've heard from the Department of Justice is that my assets and me remain a target of the Department of Justice and of the FBI.
Okay, so he's caught in a lie. So I believe it was either Simon or Jaden on the Kino Casino Friday, and they said that Nick Fuentes had access to those $500,000 given in Bitcoin by a French guy who killed himself, and that he has had access to that for several months or a year, more or less, and that Nick basically lied at the beginning and said that the government froze his assets. He basically, okay, I will concede this. He was being more or less honest when he said after January 6th that, yes, the feds did take the money, they froze those assets in that bank account. But then again, you take into account that they unfroze it at some point between maybe like March and June of 2021, so like about a year ago. And they unfroze that money And Nick Fuentes is basically saying, the last time I talked to the feds or whoever, they said that that money was still a target. So if that's the case, then just say to the public a year ago and say, guys, be like, well, I got the shady money. I do want to use it, but the feds are saying that it's still a target, so I just won't touch it. Okay? But to be dishonest and to just not say the truth and lie through omission for a year and say to your fans, you know what? I had those $500,000 frozen. Not clarifying to the people that, you know what? I do have them and I can use them, but I'm too scared to. And then getting people to donate to you and fundraisers and getting big donors to donate to you under the false pretense of you not being able to access that money is you lying. And sure, I'm pretty sure he rationalized this to himself by saying, well, nobody's directly asked me if I have the money, therefore I can just not mention it. But you know that it's pertinent, okay? You know it is important, right? For example, a girl might assume that you don't have AIDS when you have sex. But, if you do, you should tell her. And just because she doesn't ask you doesn't mean you didn't lie. And even if you didn't lie, technically, you lied through omission. And even if you didn't do that, you're still an asshole for screwing over somebody by misleading them, by not telling them the truth over something that is relevant. It'd be one thing if you were lying about something that is completely irrelevant to America First. Like, if you were dating some girl and, it didn't matter, who cares? But again, you have to mention the financial stuff because people are spending their hard-earned money in many cases. A lot of teenagers are spending money that they don't have. People in college are spending money that they don't have under false pretenses, and you're milking them because you don't give a shit, okay?
That is the last thing I've heard when I was subpoenaed in January. And by the way, I'm saying too much as it is. When I was subpoenaed in January, the letter, and you can go and verify this publicly, by the way, it's all out there. The receipts are all out there. When I was subpoenaed in January, the letter which was written to me by the House Select Committee investigating January 6th said and acknowledged that I remain under investigation, that my assets and myself remain under investigation by the DOJ and the FBI.
Okay, so if his money is under investigation and he says that he can't use it because he's under investigation, then how is he able to use the bank accounts that are still accessible to him, and why does he still have the balls to fly if he's so scared about being under investigation, is my question. I think he's being disingenuous. I think that he's either used that $500K on something or is planning to use it imminently, whether that be the America First compound in Florida coming up, which is what he's projected to be happening soon, or maybe he has it sitting there. But the point is that you need to be more honest and say you do have the money. Just say that you're afraid of using it, okay? Instead of saying I don't have $500,000 in the shed in the backyard, I would, be honest and say, yeah, it's over there, but again, there's probably a electric fence around it or something. But to lie and say it's not there or to not even mention it at all, again, is lying.
I was subpoenaed for documents, and I was also subpoenaed for a deposition. As you know, I participated in the deposition, and we were cooperating with the committee on the document requests. In the aftermath of that, my legal representation, reached out to the Department of Justice and asked if there was any change in the status of the investigation on my money. And the response that we got is that there has been no change since last spring in 2021. And that's it.
That doesn't prove anything. Oh, they haven't changed the status of the money. If anything, that kind of proves that if you read it the negative way, that you've had access for over a year since the spring of 2021, right after the Capitol riot, and you just didn't use it. So again, if you believe what I believe, which is that he's been mostly lying throughout this entire thing, that then obviously he's been able to use it. And just because the status doesn't change, it doesn't mean that it does not change the fact that he's been able to access the money. So he's trying to use the truth to spin you in a different way. So he's definitely being manipulated in this case.
As transparent as I can be about the situation. The letter from the House Select Committee on January 6th is public, and the email from the U.S. Department of Justice I will not publicize, but I may show to certain neutral parties because this is an ongoing legal matter and it's very sensitive, and this is something where I'm under a criminal investigation still. And I'll just leave it at that. I cannot go into specifics, but
look at all the fucking squinting he's doing. Come on.
I will strongly imply, based on what I am
He's putting the hands there please don't beat my ass. Don't beat my ass.
saying, that I remain under criminal investigation by the federal government, the DOJ, and the FBI. I cannot give every update about things that have transpired between now and then, but I will say, and you can infer based on what I'm saying, that my assets remain under investigation in a federal criminal investigation by the FBI and by the Department of Justice. When that investigation ends, I can tell the full story. When the House Select Committee investigating January 6th dissolves at the end of this year, when the Republicans win the House of Representatives, perhaps there will be more information about this ongoing legal matter. But I am not going to jeopardize myself legally based on hearsay. I am not going to jeopardize myself in a federal criminal investigation against me and my assets, which we know is ongoing, based on hearsay. And I don't know that people are lying, necessarily, but I think that probably most people don't understand the complexity of the situation. And I think if anybody were to scrutinize the claims that have been made, legally or otherwise, I think that very quickly the people that are accusing me would reveal that they really have no understanding of what transpired last January when my money was frozen, or anything that has gone on since then. And that pertains to the no-fly list or the money or anything else.
Again, he's using the half-truth to kind of mislead you again, because he's saying, well, these people don't really know what went on. And that's kind of the point, Nick. You could have just been honest and say, I don't really know if I can use the money or not, so I'm just not going to use it. But instead you chose to admit the truth. You chose to mislead people by implying that you couldn't, like, they took the money, generally speaking. And so you left your best friend in the dark about it. You left Simon in the dark about it, and you left your fans out in the dark about it. So you're saying, well, you guys don't know. So why are you telling people that the money's unfrozen or whatever? Well, nigga, you could have clarified to people, but instead you chose to lie. You were selfish, and now it's biting you in the ass. You fucking bitch. Seriously,
I'm
come
being
on.
as perfectly honest with you as I can be in my current situation. I will add that I have spent, since my money was frozen, $150,000 in legal fees to retain representation, which I currently retain to this day, to represent me in this matter. I just wrote another $50,000 check out of my own personal checking account in December. And that brings me to another point. I was accused of raising money off of the fact that the money may have been unfrozen or was frozen or something. If anything, it's exactly the opposite. This has been characterized, not only is it a disingenuous claim and something which I cannot fully rebut because I'm engaged in litigation, but it's also something which has a dishonest premise. The insinuation is, if the money had been unfrozen, it would have been wrong because there was dishonesty about this and I raised money off of this. If anything, it's the opposite. I have, in no way, shape, or form, since last year, I have not put out a GoFundMe. I have never asked for people to give me restitution for the seized money. Find me the clip. Show me where that happened. Because if that were true, that would be despicable. Find me the clip where after $500,000 was frozen in my checking account, I ever asked anybody for 1 cent of it back.
Again, he's misconstruing the argument. He's saying, well, if I were such a grifter, why wouldn't I go out of my way to lie and make more money that way? Well, is it not bad enough that you didn't tell the truth? Okay, so he's strawmanning the position from the other side, so we'll just skip ahead and kind of
$1,000 check out of my own personal checking account. It's not, each drama is one thing. You want to say I watch Euphoria, fine. When you're talking about a grand jury, a federal investigation, this is an extremely serious and sensitive matter, and it's honestly despicable that somebody who knows enough to know what kind of legal peril I'm in, it's despicable for someone who knows that much, but not enough to fully understand the situation, will use aspects of that, fragments of that they may have overheard or misunderstood to try to attack my credibility, and then to try to insinuate that I ever raised money off of that. It's just not true. As you know, many streamers on this website have used PowerChat for the past year. I do not use PowerChat. I could. The reason I don't use PowerChat is because I know that even though I would make a lot more money, I use an inferior service, which is basically designed just for me because I'm banned from more things than anyone else. I can't get a PayPal or Stripe. I use an inferior service which restricts people from sending me money because I don't want to use PowerChat and everybody that uses it gets banned. So I take a financial hit by not using PowerChat so that those accusing me and those that hate me and other people on this platform can continue using that to raise money because there would be no alternative. I don't run advertisements on the show and I never have.
Again, what does this have to do with anybody's accusations about anything? I just feel like he's kind of like dredging up whatever like brownie points he can get. Now, obviously, the people that are donating to him, we're going to do it anyway, regardless of whatever platform that we're going to do. It's not like you're on YouTube where you have this like obscure payment option where people are going to be limited from giving you money. Anybody that's devoted enough to follow you to Cozy TV will already be willing to do whatever obscure payment method they can do on a non-PayPal format, or whatever your fucking thing is called. And obviously, it is in your interest to not get other people banned off of PowerChat because that would screw over all your friends on Cozy. So you could view it from a selfish point of view either way. So it doesn't really prove anything.
The America First Foundation is rapidly becoming $1 million organization. I have never taken one.
So you have a political foundation that has been around for over a year, I believe, and it hasn't even hit $1 million. That's fucking awful. What?
Cent. And it's public. That's the beauty, is receipts. As a 501c4 nonprofit, our finances are disclosed. I have never taken 1 cent from the foundation. Not when
Who has ever said that you took money from the foundation?
$500,000 was taken from me, and my credit score went in half.
Again, $500,000 were taken away from you. To be completely honest, if somebody gifts you something and then you lose it right away, it's not like you lost a lot of stuff, okay? Like, it's kind of like a missed opportunity at that point, right? If somebody were to gift you an iPhone, but then like you drop it like within an hour of having it and it breaks, you didn't lose out on your phone. You already had one. It was just like a missed opportunity. So to say like, oh, I missed out on $500,000, you didn't account your expenses. You didn't account your bills or whatever predicated on Bitcoin coming from some French dude who killed himself for some, which is weird. But anyway, so again, why are you bitching? And then my credit score went in half. I wonder why.
Because I had no cash. I had to liquidate $70,000 in assets just to keep up with paying my employees, paying for certain assets, paying for, I'm not getting real estate, things like that.
So he had to liquidate assets to pay people. Well, if you had to pay people that much, maybe that's why you're underpaying Simon, right? And if that's the case, well, then don't try to ambitiously expand your movement when you cannot afford it. Be more humble. Say, you know what? Maybe we're not going to be taking over the entire United States within the first couple of years of the movement and wait. But no, you're going to overextend, get overzealous, and now you're fucking mad that the government froze your assets for a couple months. Assets that you didn't really deserve, assets that were a fluke opportunity. If it weren't sent from the feds in the first place, what are the odds that some fucking French guy would send you $500,000 for an America First movement? And again, you feel so entitled to that money, as if it really even matters, right? As if you really deserved it. It was really just a fluke at that point. It's like being a shitty athlete and then in high school and getting a scholarship to a college. You should be fucking thankful that they even gave you something to begin with. And even if it was taken away, again, you didn't even deserve it. It was really just a fluke circumstance. And if you could not plan around it without getting a $500,000 support care package from some French guy that killed himself on Bitcoin, then you're not managing your movement competently, and it's more like the machinations of a 22-year-old from last year. And that's pretty much the truth.
Bills. Even though the foundation had a six-figure sum of money sitting in it, I didn't take a cent. So there's a claim being made about a legal matter, which is disingenuous and also doesn't fully understand the situation. And
also, he says like, oh, I was in debt or I had to liquidate assets, but yet I didn't take from the America First Foundation. Well, Nick, you said, oh, the foundation is quickly approaching $1 million foundation or whatever. But so if you're referring to your economic status from a year ago, you know damn sure that you'd be lucky if the America First Foundation were in the six figures range, because it's not even at $1 million, and that's a year later anyway. So how much could you have possibly have skimmed off the top of the foundation and not gotten caught? If you had to pay so much and the foundation were so small relative to today, and it's not even that big. So how much is that a virtue of you being a good person and doing the bare minimum, or somebody who knew that you couldn't have stolen that much and just didn't out of practicality? So again, this does not prove any moral merit.
And honestly, it's despicable to bring up in the first place. But then you've also got this insinuation that I'm grifting money. If anything, I am criminally not making enough money. I could by using Power Chat. It's just that eventually the service would be shut down and everybody would be banned. I will not in a...
Okay, well, if you think you're making a lot of money, but you know that you're going to get banned, then clearly that's the reason why you're not on Power Chat. So again, you're defeating your own point by just saying
short-term period, make more money and disallow everyone else from making money. I don't run advertisements. I don't take money from the foundation.
You don't run advertisements in part because you would not get any, right? Like RSBN, which is way more optical than Nick Fuentes, only has what, like my Pillow and what else? Advertising, like guns. So, Nick could run ads, for example. But again, what ads? Like, who would endorse Nick Fuentes? Not even fucking Pillow guy. What's his name? Mike Lindell. He wouldn't even support him. So, like, what would My Patriot Supply support you? Rage Shadow Legends, Noble Gold, Birch Gold? Doubt it. Okay.
And it goes on and on. The insinuation that there's some kind of fraud going on, it just is so disingenuous. But that really gets to the heart of the matter, which I will address in a moment. There was another claim being made that America First interns have been blackmailed, doxxed, or reported to the federal agents. That is an extremely serious claim. And so far, I have seen exactly zero evidence that anything like that has ever happened. I have not seen a shred of evidence. I've not heard a name. I've not heard nothing. I've not heard anything like that. I would challenge anybody making serious accusations like that.
That is such an asinine question to say, well, you guys can't prove that these people were doxxed. You cannot show receipts. Well, it's like, well, no shit. And, if you don't want people to be doxxed and you know that somebody got doxxed, you're not going to go and prove it by saying, well, here's the full name of the guy and here's this. So it's an unprovable thing because you would want them to dox, further expand the knowledge of this person's identity by proving that the identity was proven in the first place. So it's a catch-22 scenario that he's setting up for these people. And I don't know if he's genuinely stupid enough to think that that's even a feasible thing for these people to prove without doxing themselves even further. So again, he's lying or he's stupid.
To please present evidence as soon as
let's skip this part.
Put in a situation many times where I could retaliate in that way, and I've never chosen to do that. It's not something that I would ever entertain. And if people are going to make a positive claim about that, there has to be evidence. And honestly, it's very disappointing how many people are willing to believe hearsay without evidence. That's a very serious accusation. And by the way, blackmail is a crime. So if there's any evidence of blackmail, take it to the police. Please, I invite you. Any evidence of blackmail should be taken to a lawyer, and I will promptly... You go on a stream where the people make a living making fun of me and say it on there with no proof. Okay.
Okay, first of all, that expression, he just looks like Garfield. Okay, that's funny. Anyway, well, if you find evidence of this obscure crime on the internet, you should go to the lawyers. And it's, well, weren't you bragging earlier that, Simon is broke and that he can't sue you and that you're going to sue him into poverty with his son with, despite having a kid with orbital cancer? So, again, you're saying like, oh, sue me. It's like, well, these people that are accusing you of crimes or talking shit about you cannot afford to fight you in court. You're using other people's money to fight them, so it's really just a bullshit bluff. It's like saying, oh, 14-year-old kid, you're talking shit. Okay, well, fight me. I'm a 30-year-old man, you should fight me. It's like, well, no, that's not appropriate.
Never happened. Never happened. My right hand to God. That's the other major claim. Now, I said earlier, that is disingenuous gets to the heart of the matter. let's say these things are true. Let's say hypothetically, what was the claim? That my money had been unfrozen for a year? Why then are we only hearing about it now? That's a little suspect, don't you think? Because apparently what was claimed is that my money was unfrozen a year ago. That's what was claimed. Okay. Well, then why did people go on for the last year, if that was, and if this was supposed to be some kind of heinous thing, that's the reason for all this drama. Why didn't that cause drama apparently when it happened? It only comes out all the way over here a year later. That's interesting. That's very interesting. This is where we get these accusations of, it was a cult, I was brainwashed. This is the common refrain. Whenever anybody is jettisoned from America, first they say it's a cult. You want to know why? Because that explains away how a person is going to go and make wild claims, but yet they were complicit in those things all along.
The problem with that logic is that if it were a cult, then that would apply. So it's really just a paradoxical thing for him to say in the first place. Like, people that are leaving the cult are going to say it's a cult, and then the people that are not leaving a cult are going to say it's a cult. So then what is it then? What he's saying has no merit, basically, so I'll just skip around a little bit.
And then until something bad happens and they get kicked out, and then they say, oh, well, I wasn't complicit in that, I was just brainwashed. That's really convenient. That's so convenient. And that's all.
Just because things are falling apart and people opportunistically bailed does not mean that their criticisms are not valid. Now, you can criticize the motivation, but then again, if people want to get off the Titanic when it's sinking, it's completely irrational. And you could say, well, you didn't believe in the Titanic enough. Well, nigga, I need to survive, right? So you could argue, should have, I don't know what Nazi defected in 1944 or whatever, but like it makes sense why they would do it, because obviously they know the ship is sinking and they might as well just like rat out on the people that are still around so you can end the war quickly and end this sort of unnecessary prolonging of a movement that's not going to last long term. And again, so for example, for the people in Nuremberg and those trials that were talking shit about the genocides and whatever else happened, does that just because they were in on it, does that mean that they're all of a sudden not good witnesses? Obviously, they're not the best people, but they do have a lot of truths to tell. And if you're going to discredit that by saying, well, why weren't you there in 1941 when we took over France? Well, people are selfish, but you're just even worse. So let's hear the testimony of the guy who's not as evil as you are, and we'll see what you did. And maybe we'll put both of you in jail. Fuck it, why not? I'm saying like in terms of moral policing. I'm not saying actually jail, but
it's also a pretty convenient excuse for why everybody else doesn't feel exactly the same way. Because if...
Wait, okay. So assume it's a cult. How come the people that left the cult say it's a cult, but the people that are still in the cult that are brainwashed, how come they don't think that they're in a cult too? Again, it's all a paradox. Like, what's the point of you even saying this? Like, shouldn't you be smart enough to figure this out?
Let me get this straight. You worked for the America First Foundation for almost 2 years. You got fired last week. Now you've had, the spell has been broken, a magical epiphany. All of a sudden I realized what an evil thing I was a part of. And that exonerates me from being complicit in it, allegedly. And that explains this awakening. And also, why is nobody else blowing the whistle on this? Oh, they're brainwashed too. Oh, really? So, let me get this straight. The only people that are making these accusations are people that have been fired. Everybody else is not making these accusations. Everybody else doesn't believe them.
Fired. Okay. So, I dispute the fact that Jaden was fired, but even to assume that is the case, how does that discredit anything that he's saying? I just don't agree with this. I think he's lying. So let's skip around. I'm wasting a lot of time just doing this. Like, I feel like I'm going to sit here for like 10 hours, so I might as well just like move over to the next point.
Pushing his Cash App. I heard somebody said that he promoted his Cash App. Is that true? Can we get a 1 in chat if he's been promoting his Cash App? Can we get a 1? Because I didn't watch the stream. I didn't have the heart to. And I'll get into that in a sec as well.
Sounds kind of gay. I didn't have the heart to watch this stream talking shit about me. Really? I'm pretty sure he did. I just think he's lying.
But can I get a 1? Did he put his Cash App in the stream? Did he promote that? Let's get a 1 in chat if we saw that. Okay, so I guess he did. I see a lot of 1s. Okay. So let me get this straight. You got a guy who gets fired. Goes around telling everybody, you got to quit America First. It's so horrible, whatever. I say, listen, pal, you got to stop attacking the organization. I will sue you. He stops. He apologizes. I apologize. He tries to make it. It doesn't work out. And now he's back pushing his Cash App. Gee, that must be a really sincere person. Wow, it's really unbelievable. It's just like almost unbelievable. The funniest thing in the world is I had $500,000 frozen in my checking account, and I didn't even tell anybody for months. Do you remember that? My checking account was frozen, I think January 25th, somewhere around there in 2021. And I was attacked for this, but I didn't say anything. Even though I had to liquidate some of my assets to pay bills, and even though I was scrambling and freaking out, and I didn't know why, I didn't say anything. I didn't go around with the cup, spare change.
Obviously, you can't ask for money when you're in a position where you're being targeted, allegedly, and even if you had access to the money, you didn't want to use it because you were scared of the federal prosecution. And then again, if you didn't want to be dancing around this topic, you could just have been honest a year ago and you wouldn't have had this problem. And in terms of Simon's credibility, obviously the guy has issues with him following people like sheep. He was apparently friends with Spencer, and now he was friends with Nick. Apparently he got fired. I don't know how that happened, but allegedly in December of 21, he got fired, and then he apologized to Nick at some point because he was talking shit. So if you were not genuine, why was he talking shit right after? And then when you threatened to sue him, he was broke, so he acquiesced to you and he apologized insincerely. And now he's attacking you now that he doesn't think that the NDAs are written properly and that he doesn't get sued into oblivion in his own opinion. Now he's talking shit about you. So it seems to me like the common denominator is that when people are not afraid of you and your power, they talk shit about you. Why? Probably because you have character flaws, right?
The only thing I raised money for was for lawyers, which I spent a small fortune on, to represent me in that matter. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Right. Years ago, and I've known Simon for a long time. We don't have to go back to when we were born, but here's the origin of the business relationship. I don't even want to get into this, but you just need to know these things because people are. I had a merch store on Gearbubble. It was a print-on-demand service, which means I uploaded a merch design on the website, and I could put the link out there. People could buy it on the Gearbubble website. It was shipped to them. It was fulfilled, and then I got a check at the end of the month. It was very simple. Simon came to me. This might have been in 2017 or 2018, and he says, "Hey man, what if I designed your merch and I took a percentage of your profit?" And I said, "Well, it's an interesting idea." I said, "But I could buy a design for like $50, and then I could keep 100% of the profits." You understand? I was like, I could go on Fiverr, I could go to a designer, and I could say, "Make me a design for $50, and then I can make it myself, and I could upload it on the site and keep 100%." And he goes, "Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess it doesn't make sense." Okay. So he comes back to me and he says, "Hey, I have a new idea." I said, "Okay, shoot." He goes, "Let's do a business model where we split the profit 70-30. He goes, "But I'll do everything." He goes, "I'll design the merch, I'll run the website, I'll handle the support tickets, I will advertise it, I'll do marketing, I will make new products every month, I'll make new products every season. I will look at analytics and determine which ones are selling better, and I'll make more like that. I'll do all these services, and we'll split the profit 70-30. And I said, "Okay, great, let's do it." I said, "That's a great deal. I'm getting a full, Has anybody bought merch from my merch store in the past 3 years? Has anybody bought merch from my merch store in the past 3 years? Let me ask you, how was that experience? Did you have a really good experience with the America First merch store over the past 3 years? Because I can tell you, on my side that I had nothing but support tickets, quality issues, stale designs, just an endless stream of issues. It was a running joke where people would go in the super chats and say, "Hey, I'm order, 1, 2, blah, blah, blah. My merch never arrived. I'm demanding a refund. I'm charging back my credit card." It's like, no, hey, spoiler alert, none of that happened. Okay, none of that happened. We were not getting regular merch designs. There was no analytics. There was none of that. There was no marketing. There was no advertising. And I would say, "Simon, you're really not holding up your end of the deal. You're not making new designs. The designs you're making aren't good. They're taking too long. Like the support tickets are overflowing. Like this is a problem." But honestly, I never broke off that relationship because I just didn't have the heart to, because he was my friend and he had a young family. I should have fired him years ago. If anything, I've overpaid him because I should have fired him years ago. And anybody who's been in the inner circle knows this dynamic. And we could go on even further, especially in those early days. I should have fired that guy. I wanted to fire that guy. The only reason I didn't is because he just had a kid and he had a young family and he was my friend and I didn't want to fire him. It was a small amount of money coming to him, but I said, "You know what? It is what it is." Didn't have the heart to fire him. Then you can fast forward to 2021 and we changed our business arrangement. In June, it was suggested to me that Simon be brought on as with a salary position so that he would have a secure income. And we agreed to pay him $2,500 a month, starting I think in May or June last year. And I was told that Simon does a lot of things for us. He does a lot of things, and we would really be helpful to just have him on the team and just give him a salary position. Now it's a part-time salary because he did a part-time job. Part-time salary, part-time job. This claim about I think he said on the stream, somebody told me he's working 14 hours. When he called me back in December when I fired him, he goes, "I work for slave wages. I work my finger to the bone." I'm like, on what planet? You ever see that movie Interstellar, where Bradley Cooper goes on that planet and it's close to a black hole, and the black scientist goes, "Every minute on that planet is 100 years up here," and they go on the planet for like 5 minutes and they get back and like 60 years has transpired. Okay, maybe on that planet you're working 14-hour days. Anywhere else, maybe 14 hours a month, maybe 14 hours a day, below minimum wage. Do you know how much minimum wage is? What is it, like $11, $12? So you're gonna pay $500 a month. Let's just use clean numbers. That means you're working what? 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Am I getting that right? You're working for $11, $12 an hour, 10, $12 an hour. Is my math right on that? You're working 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. Ain't nobody in that team working 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. It just wasn't happening. Okay, it just wasn't happening. So much so that when I fired Simon, I talked to the staff and I said, "Well, what are Simon's actual responsibilities?" I said, what does Simon even do? I said, who are we going to do? Get this. When we fired Simon in December, I went around to the teams and I said, "Give me a list of Simon's responsibilities so we could find a replacement because we're going to need to find one quick for Pack 3. And nobody could even tell me. They said, "Well, he color grades the videos and he's like a camera guy and I never hired a replacement." I fired him in December. We did Pack 3 without anyone doing the job that Simon did. Pack 3, a 1,200 person conference with a $200,000 expenditure. And we didn't even for that and until now have not replaced him because that's how little he was doing. That's how little. And we.
Okay, so he, assuming he's being honest, which I think for the first time in this entire thing, I think he's mostly right in this. I feel like, so we let this guy who was his good friend, he's the godfather of his child, I believe, with orbital cancer or whatever, but, so he gets Simon, who allegedly is incompetent and lazy, and, he pays him a little bit, but he's being generous because he's useless and he's a dead weight, but probably Simon kissed his ass and, was an old school friend of his before he was so famous, allegedly. So because of that, he kept him around. Now that bit him in the ass because he was losing efficiency with the merch store, but he didn't have the heart because he's such a nice nigga to get rid of him. So I guess best case for Nick, he had he was being incompetent as a manager. He had an employee that was a dead weight, but it's kind of like a nepotism thing. And so he let him on. And again, either way, I mean, so Nick was an incompetent leader. I mean, what is there to say? And again, Simon, is he the best person? No. Is he very smart? Probably not, because again, he was a sycophant of Richard Spencer 5 years ago, and I just disavow that. I think that if you're, unironically, if you were a fan of Richard Spencer as an adult, you're a tool. So again, I don't really think Simon's a genius, but to say he's not genuine is also
we could get into specifics. We went to New York. This was like the big grievance was in New York. We go to New York, and we do this kick-ass rally outside of the mayor's mansion. Awesome rally. Antifa was there. I was screaming in the microphone. It was badass. It was nighttime. It was in the city. It was like Gotham. We go back to the hotel, reviewing the footage, which Simon took, and the footage was crap. And it's so much like you literally can't even get. I'm really just giving you these like selections. Me and Simon, incidentally, are sitting down and he's telling me why I'm too mean and why I don't give enough positive reinforcement. We're literally sitting in a hotel room. He sits me down for a talk. He's sitting on the bed telling me we need some more positive reinforcement. I know things aren't perfect. You're just too mean. Out of the corner of my eye, I see the live stream of the New York rally, and the footage is dog shit. And I go, wait, Simon, just a minute. Look at the footage. This footage is terrible. I'm like, you are 6'7". You work for me. You tower over everybody. Why does the Associated Press have better footage of our rally than you? And he goes, well, I didn't know that's what you wanted. I'm like, oh, you didn't know that's what I wanted? Hey, Simon, make sure to film that rally and don't make the footage dog shit, okay? Just to clarify, I do not want footage that's dog shit, okay? Now that's in a conversation about how I'm like not giving a positive reinforcement. Do you see why there's not a lot of positivity there? It goes on and on and on. We did our...
It's ironic that he was bitching about Jaden a couple days ago, if not like 5 days ago, that Jaden didn't give him enough compliments before they broke up, right? And he's over here saying, well, this nigga wanted positive reinforcement. So again, he doesn't care about other people. He cares about himself. But beyond that, again, well, Simon, was he incompetent? I mean, from what he's saying, yeah, obviously. But you're the one that let him on there, so you're still taking an L either way you spin it.
And I'll lay out a little story, okay, and then I'll get into the other individual. Well, there's a few actually. So we go to Springfield for our anti-vax rally. Springfield, Illinois. We do a big anti-vaccine rally outside the Capitol. This rally cost us $10,000 easily. We flew people out. I drove out there. I took time off my show. We paid for equipment, all this stuff. We had probably 500 people there. Excuse me. We had flags. We had a podium. We had it all set up. And then the live stream, they couldn't get it to work. That was Simon's job. He was like the technical guy. They couldn't get the live stream to work. And so I'm driving around the Capitol in the van, waiting to make my entrance on the phone. Simon, what's going on? Where's the stream? It was supposed to go live. I'm sorry. And you can go back and watch the replay. The replay's terrible. I'm sorry. We're having a lot of trouble. Something's not working. I said, okay, you know what? Just ditch. I said, just ditch the camera. Use your phone. I said, because we bought a tripod mount for a cell phone. I said, just use your iPhone. Stream it from your iPhone. Use a cell booster. He goes, then the stream goes live, and he's holding it with his hands, and it's shaking. And I call him back, and I go, Simon, why is the camera shaking so much? Are you holding it with your hands? Put it on the tripod. He goes, we forgot the piece at the Airbnb. The mounting piece that connects the tripod to the phone, we forgot that at the Airbnb. We don't have that. We can't do the phone stream. So now keep in mind, we paid $10,000. We brought everybody out here. You do it for the stream. You don't do it for the 500 people that attend. You do it for the 100,000 people that see the replay of it in perpetuity. Waste everybody's time to not have this. You better fix this or you're out. Equipment list together before we go. An equipment list with everything we need to do what we need to do there. Mobile streaming, tripods, podium, speakers, all that. I said, we need all of it on a list. I said, you need to buy it. You need to test it out. You need to do a dress rehearsal. No mistakes this time. I said, because we cannot be embarrassed like last time. He goes, okay. Now it's like 2 weeks before the event. I call him up. I'm like, Simon, where's my equipment list? He sends me a partial list of like 6 things. I said, Simon, where's the rest of it? He goes, oh, well, I thought you just needed like this stuff. I have a few lists. I have a small list. I have a medium list, a big list. I'm like, Simon, the event is in 2 weeks. I bought my train tickets. We announced it. We need to have all the stuff now. You don't even have a list. We get out there, and it's just one disaster after another, man. One disaster after another. And I call everybody up on that Thursday. I said, listen, we are not doing our big rally on Saturday. I said, our equipment's not working. The Staten Island thing was a joke. Our donor lunch was a disaster. I said, we are not going through with this. I said, give me one good reason why we should go out there and embarrass ourselves with another technical failure. And they really took offense to this. I said, you know what? I said, people are acting here like they don't even care. I said, everybody's acting like the success of this movement is not something that they're personally invested in. I said, it is. Insofar as you're working in this organization, you need to be invested in the success of the organization. I said, because if you're not, if the people in this thing don't... He did AFPAC 2. We did AFPAC 3 without him. Tell me that this was a vital, essential person who was underpaid working. AFPAC 3 was orders of magnitude better than AFPAC 2. We did it without even finding a replacement because that's what the kind of stuff that was going on. Now, once again, I think I actually overpaid the guy. And then I called him up and said, listen, you're fired. And then he goes, you know what? I've been waiting to say this for a long time. You shouldn't be leading. I have a recording of it. You shouldn't be leading anything. I thought you were my friend, but that was one-sided. Blah, blah, blah. You called me an oaf. Or Vince called me an oaf and you laughed at it. Blah, blah, blah. I wear my fingers above. You don't pay me enough. I never heard this before. He got fired. And he goes around sour grapes with everybody. And even with that betrayal, I was still magnanimous. I texted him and I said, listen, man, I said, you hate me. I said, I don't hate you. I didn't know you felt this way about any of this stuff. I said, I didn't hate you because blah, 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 whatever. I said, I could play the recording right now if you want to hear it. But I basically...
So this whole spiel is proving that Nick thought that that the oaf, Simon was incompetent. And I feel like while that is a valid thing to say, I don't think that disproves anything that Nick said. And if your biggest criticism about a guy exposing you for felonious things, for hiding almost $1 million worth of stuff, lying about very important things, your biggest response is, well, you were lazy or you were a bad employee. I don't feel like that's enough.
Responded and said, listen, man, like, I dispute how you're characterizing all this, but I mean, I don't hate you. Clearly, you got a problem with me. Whatever. He keeps attacking. I threatened to sue for the NDA. Then he apologizes to me and says, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just having a really hard time, and I lashed out, and I hope you can forgive me, and I'm praying for you. And in my magnanimity, I said, you know what, Simon? I said, I'm not going to let this get in the way of our friendship. I said, in a few months, we could be friends again. I said, I'm not going to let this get in the way. We've been friends for a long time. I understand you're under a lot of stress. And I thought that was that. He went his separate ways. It didn't work out in his thing, and now hey, yada, yada, yada. Now he's showing his cash app on a stream, selling things that he knows.
He left out the part where he threatened to sue him over him talking shit. So, another lie.
About me from years ago. That's the story. You're getting paid part-time. But it's just like incredible the kind of omissions that go on there. And then for somebody to go out and pretend like there's some whistleblower, I'm sorry, but if you just get like, if I say,
so that's projection on Nick's part. Oh, all these omissions. I think you're the king of omissions, Nick.
And I went back in her Twitter, and I found all the old tweets of her saying the N-word from 10 years ago, and I bought a domain name with her name, averyclode.com, and I had Simon design a website, and I put all those tweets of her saying the N-word on the website, and then I put it on my Twitter and my Telegram and say, go to averyclode.com, she's a horrible racist. And I spent my own money to do that. I think I paid Simon to do that. Maybe I didn't. But I went out of my way to do that. I'll give you another example. When Jaden was here in Chicago, he had a very sort of sad life. He would never leave his apartment. It was always very dark in there. He lived like a pig. He had wrappers everywhere, bottles everywhere, clothes everywhere. Everything was dirty. And I could see that he was really down. I could see that was really depressing him. I felt really bad for him. And I told the story on the Tyler Russell stream the other night. So one week, he went out of town on vacation with his family. And of my own volition, I basically broke into his apartment. But I broke into his apartment.
I already heard this one, so I'll just skip over it for the sake of brevity because I just listened to the Taylor Russell thing an hour ago, actually, or like 2 hours ago. Again, it's like 2 a.m. over here, so I just
would do things like what I told you earlier. I defended him on the timeline. I cleaned his apartment. I would take care of him when he was sick. When we were in New York, he got COVID. He was horribly sick. I woke up early, and I was sick too. I also had COVID. I woke up early. I snuck out. I went down to the hotel lobby. I went out to a restaurant. I got soup, whatever. I got tea, all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's just like the level of consideration. Like that is just such an unfair. Of course, somebody that is trying to do nothing other than humiliate you and attack you would just bring up like, let me just fish for everything that makes Nick look bad. You're friends for somebody for years. You're close friends. There's going to be some good things. There's going to be some bad things. I'm not a perfect person, but everybody knows I try to do the right thing. I try to do right by people, and I would never betray somebody. Most importantly, and all this is to say, somebody's going to go out there and just take every intimate moments where there's vulnerability, where I have an unguarded moment, and let's just fish for everything that's going to make Nick look bad or creepy or weird or mean.
He's saying that Jaden let on this barrage, and while I do think that Jaden necessarily. He did talk some shit. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I think he was being pretty nice to Nick, actually. Apparently, there's like a sniffing underwear story. There's like a whole lot of lore, and, he didn't mention it. I feel like Jaden has like 10 times as much dirt on Nick as he let on during the Kino Casino. And even with the little bit he gave, you're talking about the black light for cum stains and all that. Like, that is fucking disgusting. And to say, like, oh, these were intimate moments. What intimate moment is looking for cum stains on my bed, bro? Like, why are you looking on my couch for cum stains? That is so weird. Who does that? Seriously, that's, like, you cannot live that down. I wonder if he'll even mention it.
Or whatever. And of course, nobody's going to talk about the good stuff. Nobody's going to talk about the other stuff. And basically how this whole thing played out is back in January. Well, back in December, Jaden started, and I could go into a lot, because there's a lot there. But in December, Jaden starts talking to this girl, where all the trouble begins. And he comes back from Florida. And, we talk, and we kind of catch up on everything, and he says, yeah, so I'm talking to this girl, I think I'm going to go on a first date with her. And I said, you know what? I said, you should. And by the way, everybody always attacking me and saying, oh, Nick's an incel. He kicked out Jaden because he got a girlfriend. I literally, let's do a lie detector test. I literally told them, great idea. I said, that's good for you. That's so good for you. I said, I'm so happy to hear that. You could really use that right now. Go out, meet new people, get out of the house, do something fun. I gave them recommendations on where to go on a date. He goes, what should I do? I said, you could check out the Christina Market. You could go to whatever. Go to this restaurant. He goes on a date. It goes well. He comes back. And, I said, hey, how did it go? He said, oh, I thought it went pretty well. We did this, we did that. I said, that's great. I said, man, I'm really happy for you. Like, finally, you have a normal relationship. Because you have a thing with like an e-girl before. I was like, finally, something that's more like normal. And I said, we could maybe start a family or something. But then this is where it all falls apart. We had these plans to hang out on New Year's Eve. And I said, hey, are you doing anything with the girlfriend on New Year's Eve? And he goes, no. I said, oh, yeah, let's hang out. He goes, okay. And then like 2 weeks later, he texts me and he goes, hey, what are we doing for New Year's? Because, the girlfriend's asking me what I'm doing. So, like, are we doing anything? And I was like, no. I said, it's fine. We, go hang out with your girlfriend. He's like, are you sure? He's like, because I don't want it to be, I sound like bros before hoes. I'm like, yeah, I know. I said, listen, I'm not going to make you hang out with me on New Year's. Fine, go hang out with the girlfriend on New Year's, whatever. He spends a week there at her place. Now, time goes on, and it's like January, and I don't hear from this guy. I don't see this guy ever. We haven't hung out in months. He hasn't invited me to hang out in months. I invited him to do a few things, and he told me no every time. And so I told him, I'm like, dude, I said, I'm not mad at you. I said, but you don't have like a formal job with, you're on the foundation, but that's not like a full-time job. I'm like, you don't really have a formal job with America First. I'm like, and you don't hang out with me anymore. I'm like, we're gonna move to Florida in 6 months or whatever. I said, and we're gonna get down there and just not be friends anymore. I'm like, because if there's no reason for you to be involved, and if we're not hanging out, I'm like, we're just gonna drift apart. I said, I don't want that to happen because I want to be your friend. I want you to be in this thing. And he disputes this. He's like, I'm not blowing up. You just don't want me to have a girlfriend. Blah blah blah. And I said, well, you just don't really reciprocate. I'm like, I try to invite you places and I just don't hear from you and everything. And he goes, well, I want to be friends and all this. I said, okay, well, I wish we just turned around. I'm like, because I want to be friends in 6 months. I'm like, and I'm just telling you as a matter of fact, like the trajectory on we're not going to be friends. It's a real fight that we had. And the next day, I say, hey, let's start working out. I said, let's start working out. We're going to start working out. Let's do 10:30 a.m. Tuesday. He goes, okay, great. I said, yeah, let's work out like Tuesdays, Thursdays, or whatever. So Tuesday rolls around. It's 10:30. I'm waiting. It's 11:30. It's 12:30. He texts me at like 4 o'clock. And he says, hey, I'm sorry. I overslept. I'm at my girlfriend's place. I'm not going to be able to make it for like another 4 hours. Can we do?
See, that sounds like cap already. So he's saying, oh, I helped Jaden get a girlfriend. But then when you get him the girlfriend, you're over here complaining about him hanging out with the girlfriend now. And it's sort of like, well, you kind of screwed yourself over, Nick, because your whole aversion to girls is predicated on the bros before host thing. And if that's the case, then why even tell him to go on a first date? You really thought that he was going to go on a first date, have it be successful because you helped him and you're this great guy and you're going to be a good wingman. And then that what? Like he's going to see her like once every other week and that's it? Like obviously if he has the chance to be with his girlfriend, he's going to be with his girlfriend for, days at a time, every other week or so. And, maybe he doesn't want to hang out with you for other reasons and that's it. And, Nick, you kind of brought it on yourself when you said, go date this girl. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think he was going to get rejected and then you kind of be vindicated and then you keep him to yourself? Seems a little weird, honestly. And we'll see him talk about this next thing.
Do it at 8 o'clock? I'm like, 8 o'clock. I'm like, that's when my show starts, dude. He's like, oh, okay, well, can we do it tomorrow? I'm like, I got stuff going on tomorrow. I'm like, I'm busy tomorrow. Then Thursday rolls around and a friend of ours is in town. I say, hey, let's go meet with this guy. He's in town. And Jane's like, I can't. I got to, clean my kitchen. I'm like, okay. And so we had the same fight. Then the next day we had the same fight. I'm like, dude, we just got done having this fight where I told you, I'm like, you never invite me anywhere, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and then you blow me off the next day. I'm like, I just got done telling you. And he's like, well, but so what? I missed one time and I didn't want to hang out with that guy. So, and I'm like, dude, it's the point. I'm like, do you just only want to be friends when you have something to benefit from it or when it's convenient? I'm like, because if that's how it is, then we're not friends. I'm like, when you want to do something, we do it. When you don't want to do something, you don't do it. When it's convenient for you, you do something. When it benefits you, when that's not happening, you don't do it. And so I said, listen, like, I'm telling you, if it keeps going on like this, like, we're just not going to be friends anymore. I said, and that's sad. And I told him, I'm like, I do, and all these examples I listed before, I said, I do all this stuff for you. I said, could you name like one nice thing you've ever done for me? I'm like, you live in my place rent free. You're the treasurer of the foundation. You're one of the first streamers on Cozy. All this stuff is going on. I'm like, can you name like one time you've gone out of your way for me or been like a considerate person? And he's like, no, I can't think of anything. Why do you even want to be my friend? And I'm like, dude, because I love you, dude, and that's what friends do. Help each other out, and and you're just always friends. No matter what, you just have to have each other's backs and stick by each other. And I said, that's just how friendship is supposed to be. I said, I don't keep score of everything, but I just want to know that I have like a real friend. I'm like, I don't have any close friends. I'm like, you're my only close friend, and and you're just like, totally.
Well, that explains the whole reason why you spend all this money on Jaden is because you don't have any friends, and it's kind of telling of your own character that you don't have any friends. And you might say, well, I got alienated from my friends because of my political views. Well, I have not been alienated from my friends for my political views, and they're very similar to Nick's. And I have several other people that I know that are also, far right or, further right than Trump, I mean. And yet they still have the vast majority of their friend group still intact. So again, Nick having these problems is showing more of a problem with him, and probably the fact that he was, to the little friends that he did have from high school and all that, he was probably a complete douchebag to them, which is probably why they don't talk to him. And not just because he's like this Republican pariah, because clearly a lot of other people that are dissident right have a lot of friends. So this is just a character flaw in Nick, and he's compensating by having Jaden. And Jaden's like, well, what normal person would be giving me this much attention and all that? And you're saying, well, you're my only friend. I mean, this is only validating the point that you're a sociopath or, that you're crazy with a huge ego. He's really just owning himself inadvertently.
He blowing me off, and I'm like, and that just is not cool. And so anyway, so then, it goes on, and basically the situation just doesn't get better. He just falls off the face of the earth. I don't hear from him. He doesn't invite me to hang out, anything like that. The following week, I told the story on the Tyler Russell show. The following week, me and Jaden and this mutual friend of ours go on this trip. We go down to Florida, and we spend a week down there. We drive down there, and he's on his phone the entire time, Snapchatting the GF.
I already heard this story on the Tyler Russell thing, so I'll just skip around because, again, I don't want to waste a lot of time. I've been like almost an hour and a half so far recording this, and I want to go to sleep, so. This is going to be very long format. I just really hope that I don't
Where am I
get
staying? Am I staying with you?
DMCA
I don't know.
flagged.
Figure it out, We comped his flight, too. Foundation comped his flight. I don't know, figure it out. Where are you guys? Blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know, dude. Well, why would I pay for your hotel? If you can't even give me the time of day, it's like, why would you continue to expect that you would get, like, this, the benefits of the friendship?
So that's pretty petty. You are at AppPack 3 and Jaden's in town, and he's trying to, like, get help from you, and you say, nah, fuck you, you're a bitch. And that's like, well, if you've had this problem with him, then why didn't you just tell him before? And if what you said before wasn't that strong then why didn't you just tell him now, like, I'm mad at you, why did you even come? But no, he's like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. So, another character flaw in Nick.
If I go out of my way to tell you, like, hey, man, like, you're not really being a good friend, like, I don't really feel appreciated, you're just kind of blowing everybody off with his girlfriend. I'm like, and we're not going to be friends soon. And he's like, he carries on with the same behavior. I'm like, why am I going to go out of my way to subsidize this lifestyle when you can't even show me the slightest consideration? And so, and surprise, surprise, I stop talking to him and the friendship dies. I stop talking to him, he doesn't call, he doesn't reach out, he doesn't invite me anywhere. It's just dead. I just don't hear from. So me and Jaden literally haven't talked since like January. People don't know that, but like me and Jaden have not talked since January. And he's never tried to get in touch with me. Call me, and it's like we have been friends for years, and this guy just vanished with everybody. And so, recently I was asked on my show, it's like, hey, what's going on with you and Jaden?
That's even doubly revealing about Nick. Now, is Jaden a cool guy? I guess, but like I don't really care about Jaden. My concern was with Nick, obviously. And if Jaden, who's very irrelevant compared to Nick, is not even making an effort to talk to him, and Nick is spending all this time and energy on Jaden, it just shows how much he's overcompensating for how bad of a personality he must have, must display at an intimate level with his actual bros from, high school and college, to the point where he's not friends with any of them, and let alone that, he can't even pay them to live with him, but only Jaden. And even Jaden isn't even putting in effort, and yet he still got to stay for months and months and months with Nick, if Nick is being honest, which he probably isn't. And again, it just shows Nick, like, you're such a recluse. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
And I said, well, we're just not that good of friends anymore. And that begins to sort of like downward spiral. But that's what, so honestly, God, please spare me. People are saying, oh, it's about, it was, your legal situation. It was unconscionable what you said about your legal situation. Nigga, it has nothing to do with my legal situation. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. I can't even believe that he would even sit there and say that. That he would even sit there and say, well, I'm just so concerned. It had absolutely nothing to do. Jaden, he would not care about foundation-related. There was a time when, like, all he had to do was sign requisition forms, and he wouldn't send them to me because it was at the girlfriend's house. I was like, hey, Jaden, I was supposed to get this requisition form last week. Where is it? Oh, sorry, I forgot. He's hours away where, like, he doesn't have access to his computer. Oh, I didn't have it. You could not make this guy care about foundation business or any of this stuff if you dragged him there with a needle nose pliers. You just couldn't do it. But now, and by the way, this viewership has been imploding lately. I mean, like, the guy gets no views. And so now all of a sudden, I had this big awakening, and I realized, please, don't even try. Don't even trip. Dude, and the funny thing is, like, it's almost like, are we even talking about the same person? Like, I literally stood there in my apartment, okay, that I own, with him, and had these conversations, and now here we are all these months later, and I'm hearing about, oh, the money was unfrozen, oh, I have these other issues. Give me a break. Like, that has just got to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I just can't even believe that somebody could shameless.
So, Jaden was a gamer bro who was a little political, didn't really care about that stuff, and was friends with you. And now that he's not friends with you and you've been treating him badly, he's going to be talking about the political things because it benefits him. But then again, what is illogical about what he's doing exactly? If the whole point of Jaden was about the friendship, then when you sever that friendship, Nick, how come it is his fault or his problem to save secrets from you if he doesn't even like you? Why would he hide the truth about the frozen assets and whatever else, NDA stuff, if he's not even friends with you anymore?
Mostly just going with both of them. Like, the omissions are just incredible. They're gonna get on there like, oh, we're just these very serious people that deeply care. Really, it's two people that got fired. It's two people that basically got fired. And now they're, instead of just going away, now they want to just hurt my feelings. You know what? Mission accomplished. You hurt my feelings. You really did. I don't usually talk like this, but real human being moment, it was just like the professional stuff. I don't care about it. There's an explanation for every claim. There's hardly any. Most of it was gossip. The serious stuff, there's no evidence.
This is kind of true because.
But after that stream,
Nick
I was just
pretty
like
much
personally
crying
destroyed.
on
I was
Tyler
just
Russell's stream
because
yesterday night.
I'm in a situation where it's for reasons like this that I can't really become close with people because I am a leader and I am under a lot of pressure and I am being targeted by everybody. And it's very rare that you can find a friend in a kind of situation like I'm in. And to be friends with somebody for 3 years and for me to be unguarded and just like try to have a real human connection with somebody who I consider.
Again, he feels scorned and burnt because when he laid himself open, he did all this gay shit like, oh, bro, do you want to watch Euphoria with me? Bro, did you nut on your bed? Hey, bro, is it okay if I go down to your basement and use lights to find semen? Like, bro.
Considered like a brother. I mean, I really considered him like, and my family did too. After all that, for him to just drudge up and search for every little thing that I have said or done to humiliate me, that's all, to humiliate me, to make me look bad, to try and destroy my professional work.
Again, he hasn't drudged up the underwear story. I'm pretty sure he has a lot more dirt on you, Nick, that he's not letting on.
It's so wrong. It just is so wrong. And in some ways, it would have been one thing if he even just went live on his own channel and did this. If he went live on a channel, he let himself be used. Those guys hated him. He went on Kino Casino. And last week, those guys were calling him gay. They were calling him gay to his face. They hated him last week. And then they welcomed him on the show. Why? Because, for obvious reasons. And they used him to try to hurt me. And the most treacherous thing is that he did that self-consciously. He let himself be used by them to hurt me. That's the worst part. Because if he had just gone on his own stream and said, I have all these problems, that would have been horrible, but that would have been one thing. This has layers to it. He went on a stream of people that...
So you're saying he got betrayed because the people that he hates most in the world, which is like PPP and Warski on the Kino Casino, they got to benefit from Jaden instead of Jaden just doing it on his own. I guess from his point of view, that is like a valid concern. Just that he's in the wrong, so I don't care, is my point.
But if it's a debate between a movement that is building and making and doing and is out there and changing the conversation and shows results versus people that want to nitpick about it and critique and say, oh, I know something about you. Oh.
That's the complete argument, basically. Like, I'm the one that's changing things. I'm the only one that can do it. You guys are just ankle biting the only thing that can work. The reality is that it's not really working, and I don't think it's going to work. And if you view it from the prism of, like, this thing's going to implode, then you might as well just, like, get everybody off. You know, if you know the ship is going to sink, you might as well just get everybody on the lifeboat. Whereas Nick, you know, doesn't see the iceberg, and he's like, well, let's keep going. That's the fundamental difference.
Oh, you watched the show. Oh, you know, you took a long shower. Make something better, shut the fuck up. But people made their choices. I hope everybody enjoys the choices they made. Not everyone has to live with the consequences. Like I said, I'm the same guy today that I was yesterday, and I'll be the same guy tomorrow. Maybe we could be friends again. I really do, because a part of me honestly even still feels bad for him. And if it was up to me, I wish we were still friends and we were moving to Florida and he was going to be a part of this, you know? A part of me does. I wanted to be his friend back in January, but not now. There's your drama.
Okay, hold on.
I don't think anybody has a good feeling watching that. But the work continues. That's my side. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Seems like he has a bald spot, like right. If you can see my cursor, he seems to have a bald spot right over here, in the bottom left of his skull, or like his hairline over here. Kind of unfortunate to see. I know that he is using his hair to like shield the big forehead he has, and you know if he's already having the receding hairline, that is pretty bad for him. And I just point that out because it's funny.
Just go over real quick. Did I miss anything? Oops, my mouse is over here. Every time you just leave, you know, when you go and work for a company, you quit, you just leave. Other love for each other. And that means something. I really love my friends. I really do. You know that. I'm loyal to a fault. As everybody says, you're too loyal to so-and-so. You're too close to friends with this person. I love my friends. I really do, because, you know.
Now, let's say he's that loyal. If that's the case, then does that as like if you were like I completely am in agreement with people that say that this guy is sociopathic or that he has narcissism, that he has these like Machiavellian tendencies. And if that's the case, if you're loyal to a fault, that means that you're just really overcompensating because your personality is so toxic that people that get close to you hate you. And when you do find somebody that does tolerate with your bullshit, like Jaden, at least for the first 3 years, or Simon for the first 5 years, you treasure them. And then when they leave you, you're like, holy shit, I just lost everything. And it's because your emotional baggage is so great to the point where you're basically warding people off. You know, you have Jaden in such a cozy situation living with you, without responsibility, and for him to leave you shows how bad of a person you must be. So creepy to fucking find his cum stains or whatever else he had on his couch, on his bedding, in the basement of that apartment or building, whatever. Again, you're just fucking weird.
Because I don't have a lot of friends, and when I got into politics, all my normie friends bailed on me, and then when I tried to get in right-wing politics, all my friends that were in politics backstabbed me because I was talking about Israel. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't have a lot of ride or die friends. Not easy. So when somebody's my friend, it means...
Again, while, you know, people leaving you over your politics is bad, he did a lot of bad things himself in terms of going out of his way to burn bridges with the alt-right. Okay, he's a hypocrite on that question. And in terms of him saying, like, you know, sleeping with a black man for a white woman is akin to bestiality, and then him, like, saying it was a joke. Like, people are going to disavow you over stupid things like that. And if you want to be taken seriously in the, as a leader of the America First movement, you ought to avoid jokes like that, even if you are being funny. And, again, you know, you could say, well, I was 19 and I was kidding. And it's like, well, if you're 19 and you're kidding, then why don't you go follow Charlie Kirk? If you're 19 and you're joking, then go ahead and follow Donald Trump and try to work for him. Don't try to start your own thing when you're not man enough to not make jokes about bestiality and all this racist shit. Okay? I'm not saying that as a liberal. I'm saying that as a guy who does make jokes that are pretty unsavory. But then again, I'm not trying to lead anything that is substantial because I'm not delusional about my own power. And I would know for a fact that I'm going to be better off being a leader in 10 years probably than I will be now as a teenager. And Nick clearly did not think so. And he got in over his head. And it's because his head is so great to the point where he could not have a depth of space and say, you know what, guys, I'll stay right here. He had plenty of room of improvement. Yes, Nick, as a teenager, you had a lot of potential, but you kind of blew it early. And it's all your fault, frankly. And I have no sympathy for Nick insofar as he is older than me. He knows better than me, theoretically, and yet he doesn't. And it's really just kind of pathetic.
Means something to me, and I would not just go and package that and sell that to some tabloid for 30 pieces of silver. I would never do something like that. I'll fight. I'm a fighter. I'll punch you. I'll not literally, but figuratively. I'll tell you what's up. Everybody knows where they stand with me. And if there's one thing that people learn, it's like, yeah, I'm tough. I'm a little bit tough on people sometimes. But to be friends with somebody for years and then package all that up and sell that to a vicious tabloid and allow yourself to be instrumentalized by bad people for some kind of...
Again, that's assuming that that's assuming Jaden hates the Kino Casino. As of what he said publicly, he says that he likes them now and that he respects them more than before. So how can you assume he's lying about that?
Sick, one-upsmanship, whatever you want, whatever motivates a person to do that, I would just never do that. And I think it's so wrong. Even if everything they said was true, it was that level of treachery would just still not be...
See, he's pretending like there wasn't this context of this limbo period where Jaden was about to move out of the apartment and Nick just kept on sneak dissing him. And then Jaden was like, okay, well, this Nick is obviously trying to threaten me. And then contriving like this whole like firing narrative. Like Nick was clearly trying to take down Jaden in the public eye of Cozy subtly without provoking Jaden responding. And Jaden even said that he didn't decide to go on the Kino Casino on Friday until Thursday night because it was just so telling that he was willing to be silent just like Jake Lloyd is right now. And yet you still like a complete jackass make fun of him and you mock him over the girl question because you're so insecure, because you felt so fucking broken about your best friend leaving you. But the fact is that you would have more friends and you'd feel less scared about your friend situation if you were a more ecumenical person, if you weren't so demanding of people's praise. And if Jaden didn't compliment you, it was because he was smart. It was because he didn't want to kiss your ass. And if you're ever friends with somebody that's more famous than you, the last thing you want to do is kiss their ass, because eventually they're gonna notice that and they're not gonna like your pleasure. They're not gonna like your phrasing. They're not gonna like your sentimentality. You got to be a little bit more rigid with that. When you look at the best friends of celebrities, sure, they're nice to them, but they also have critiques that make them still valid as people with opinions. And Jaden was such as an honest person as you could reasonably ask for at the time, and he didn't give Nick all these kiss-ass explanations to things, and he didn't kiss his ass generally, and that's why they ended up butting heads at some point in the last year. Whereas with people like Dalton, who pretends to be friends with Nick, he never publicly contradicts them as of this year, and the same thing with Beardson and Baked Alaska, because they're all bitch-made compared to Nick, and they all are they're all subversive or subordinate to Nick, and it's kind of sad.
So, that's that. I don't know if that was juicy enough for you. I'm trying to just keep it to the facts. I have no interest in humiliating these people. I have no interest in going after these people. I just want...
You have no interest in humiliating these people, yet you made fun of Jaden before he went on the Kino Casino. And had you been the bigger man, you would have said, you know what, I'm older than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm richer than you, I'm just going to ignore you. But no, you provoked him. He wasn't going to do anything until you went out of your way to make fun of him over and over again for days. And you talk shit about him on the Weekly Sweat and on other places. And then he felted you. What'd you expect, you fucking asshole?
People to understand the dynamic and understand my perspective. I've been characterized as some kind of horrible person, and I want people to understand where I'm coming from. I'm not saying these things to humiliate a person. I'm giving certain examples to illustrate what's been going on. So I have receipts. You know the sad thing is, like, people have been texting me and trying to get in on this. Like Trey texted
that bald spot is super big,
and I didn't even respond. He called me up and he's like, "Hey, I want to do a lawsuit against Jaden." I didn't answer the phone. He left a voicemail. I didn't call back. And I got in touch with Ella Maldi, and she...
Look, so Trey Politics tried to say like, "Oh, Nick, I'm gonna help you sue Jaden." Now, there's a lot of lore that I don't care to explain about Trey Gottsick because he's a piece of shit, Coomer. But, Nick saying like, oh, I didn't take Trey Gottsick's help against Jaden. It's like, well, first of all, Trey's asked dick pics from a tranny, and people call him a pedo. So, of course, you're not going to take help from an alleged pedo. I'm not 100% sure, but, like, I've seen a lot of circumstantial evidence to point that he is. But then again, I don't know. So I'm not going to say he is, he's that type of person to go after you. So I'm not going to say he's a pedo. But again, there's a lot of stigma around him. Sleeping with a Holocaust survivor, Emily Saves America, ribcage woman. Anyway, point is like, it's like saying, oh, I didn't take this money from Hitler. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. Or if a scientist said, well, I didn't take money from Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, well, yeah, I expect you to. Oh, I didn't get help from Trey Gottsick, as if that would really change anything and just make you look worse, right?
And he's like, "Hey, I want to do a lawsuit against Jaden." I didn't answer the phone. He left a voicemail. I didn't call back. And I got in touch with Ella Maldi, and she had a lot of things to say about Jaden. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm just not interested. I'm not going to do this.
He's lying right there. Now, I know a lot of stuff that I'm not letting on about because I'm friends with a lot of people, in places. I'm more connected than people think. But on the Ella Malden question, I know he's lying. I don't want to get into detail, but I've spoken to people that are friends with Ella, and Ella basically was going to go on the Weekly Sweat on Saturday or Sunday to talk shit about Jaden, but then she backed out of it. And by that, I mean that she was kind of implying that she was going to get on it, and then Beardson basically lied to Nick Fuentes and said, like, I have Ella Malding as a confirmed trump card against Jaden. And then Nick was like, okay. And then my theory suggests that she basically backed out after watching the Kino Casino on Friday, and she's like, okay, well, you know what, never mind, fuck that, you know, obviously, like, this is fucked up, and I know that Nick did all this weird shit, and so she backed out of it. That's the reason why they didn't do the weekly sweat, and that's why Beardson allegedly went on vacation, but that's obviously bullshit, because I mean, I don't want to waste my time on that, but the point is that he faked the vacation because the weekly sweat was predicated on the girl question, on the girlfriend question, on the e-girl question, and on the Ella Malding question. And Ella Malding was the trump card, you know, to dig up dirt on Jaden McNeil. And she wasn't willing to go live on the weekly sweat with Nick and Beardson because she felt like the Kino Casino made a lot of valid points, a lot of stuff that she didn't count for before she was texting Beardson and Nick. And Nick is trying to pass it off as if, like, oh, I rejected her. It's like, no, you didn't, dude. You were going to use her until you figured out that she wasn't going to go on the show. And Beardson lied to you, but you're going to have to take it because you want Beardson on your side right now. So there it goes. You know, so again, he's lying about Ella Malding. I'm not going to tell you how I know that, but I do know that. And if anybody wants to deny that, I mean, I have proof, but I don't want to say it. I mean, what I'm saying, it makes complete logical sense from my standpoint, and I don't want to reveal my sources, but I do know that for a fact, okay?
I'm not gonna do this. I know, and there's a lot of things that I can say. There's a lot of, you know, but I don't play that way. I'm gonna tell you what's up. I'm gonna tell you, you know, here's some causal factors here. Here's how we got to this point, because it deserves an explanation. He was a highly visible person, and now he's out. Well, that's what happened. So now you know. But anyway, we're gonna move on. We're gonna take a look at our super chats, and we'll see what you guys have to say about all this. Wow, holy smokes, we're gonna be here for a long time. And feel free, if anybody has any questions, just full transparency. If you have any questions at all, I mean, it's taking predominantly energy away from what we should.
Should I listen to super chats at this point? I feel like it's going to take too long. I would have live streamed this, guys, but the fact is that
was longer than I wanted to go on, but
crashed in the past, so I don't want to try that.
To discuss. Okay, let's see.
Hungry sent $3. Dad sent $3. Hi, Hungry.
Awesome.
So I'll react to some of the super chats. It's been less than an hour and a half, believe it or not. But I just definitely, you know, don't want to spend too much time on this. So I'll just cover some that I
we have not permanently
important.
suspended his account yet. We may do that in the future, but not yet. So his channel remains up for now, but we're looking at it. We're looking at that, and we're thinking about what we're
I'll be skipping around, boys.
Because of Jake, Patrick, and Jaden. I just didn't. So I don't think that's true. It's just another thing that happens in a week. It's just going to be whatever.
Exaggerated claim comes up. Nick is attacked from all angels. Then the truth comes out.
Real. That's how it goes.
Justin sent $25. Heard you called John Miller blank. He must have been acting out. Heard you got your 500. Oh, back. Well, here's 25 to add to that. Keep flexing on these lame niggas. Holla.
Holla. Well, thank you, Justin. I appreciate the 25. As to whether or not I call John Miller the N-word, no comment. But hey, I love John Miller. John Miller is one of the nicest people I've ever met. A brilliant guy. But if anything like that ever happened, I would be profusely apologetic. I'll just say that.
See, he said no comment, but I'm pretty sure on Tyler Russell's stream he confirmed that he did call him the N-word with the hard R, which I won't say because of TOS, and I would say it otherwise because I don't really care. But point being is that he was disrespectful, and I'm okay with saying the N-word. It's just that calling a black person that, like, in a negative context is hurtful, and not to be an F slur about that. I just think that generally speaking, you shouldn't be that rude. I think that's very insulting. And John Miller, if somebody called me the N slur, if I were black, I would not talk to Nick ever again. He disrespected you, and you as a grown man are still supporting Nick. And they're calling you gay now on the casino, and it's not hard to believe when you're taking shit from Nick Fuentes and getting fucking destroyed, publicly humiliated, complete sadomasochistic personality of you to have, to be called a hard R in front of a party of other boys, and for you to just take it is embarrassing, frankly, okay? So I lost a lot of respect for John Miller. I would never let somebody insult me like that and just take it like a bitch.
But basically, they left out a lot to that, but there's more. I also slapped Trey, okay? Incidentally, because they were picking on Jaden, go figure. But that was a crazy night. That was a crazy night. What happens in Phoenix stays in Phoenix. What goes on at the meme mansion stays at the meme mansion, okay? It was a bad night. It wasn't a good look for anybody, okay? Some people were acting crazy. Some people were screaming the N-word. Some people were getting hit. These are just things that happen, okay? These are things that happen during White Boy Summer, okay? It was a really White Boy Summer if a white guy doesn't scream the N-word at their black friend and then apologize later. I mean, I'll just leave that for you to decide.
What the?
So, no comment. No comment. Not gonna weigh in. I'll just say what happens at the meme mansion stays at the meme mansion.
Spence sent $3.
It's a duplicate.
Anyways, guys, I'm probably going to wrap it up here. I'll wrap it up at the hour-and-a-half mark. I just don't want to be recording too long. It's like 3 in the morning almost. So I'll just wrap it up with saying this. I personally think that Nick Fuentes is going to be seen as a pariah going forward. I don't really trust his personality. I think that he's a narcissist. I think that he is selfish. I think that he has delusions of grandeur. I think that he has sociopathic tendencies. I think he has a Machiavellian utilitarian sort of mental framework. I think he rationalizes his position in the world by saying that if he's not able to do his dirty work, that he won't be able to save X amount of people in America, when clearly that's not really the case. And I think that he's not to be trusted. I think he has every reason to lie about all of these accusations. And I feel like, in general, I would say that he lied on 90% of the stuff on the stream. So I think the stream didn't help his position at all. I trust him even less now. He might have convinced me on the Simon thing a little bit, but that's about it. I just really don't trust Nick Fuentes, and I don't think that America First will succeed in the future.